Sports Porch fans, welcome to the porch. And I let the music on a little longer, guys, because I just wanted to get a sip, out of my mug. So
nice looking mug you got there.
And thank you. And I think you guys have one too, but Schwab leaves him at my house. And I switched that around real quick because in the pre-show, Steve, I got to tell you, I was totally admiring the background you got going on there.
It's mesmerizing, isn't it?
Yes. You see that, Schwab? Yeah.
I mean, a little Halloween flavor for this week.
Yeah.
It is Halloween. And, you got to keep those spirits at bay. And you can only do that with a few jack-o'-lanterns and a skull.
Yep. And today is my
looks
my
like you
daughter.
got some ghosts there.
Yeah, my daughter's it's my daughter's 21st birthday today, Halloween. So happy birthday, Carly.
How about that, man? Hey, Mark, how would you like that? Birthday on October 31st, big party. What do you think?
I actually wouldn't like it. I wouldn't want my birthday to be shared with like everybody's holiday. That's me personally.
But every birthday is a party.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Steve's trying to goad me. He knows exactly what's going on. You know what I mean?
What is going on?
I am totally off base here. We're so far away from anything sports related, but I have to, in honor of Steve goading me and my daughter, say that when I was, because you guys and anybody watching and listening who knows me know this, you guys, when she was born, I said, it could have been Steve actually, but it could have been somebody else. Anyway, when she was born, I said, she was born on Halloween. I'm not really liking that because the other person said, oh my God, a Halloween birthday. How cool is that? And I said, yeah, well, she's got to turn 21 one day. And I know what I did on Halloween when I was 21 and it wasn't my birthday. So
it's all about you.
I also remember.
Chris? Chris, it's all about you, huh?
Look, I am a genius at twisting anything into me. That's true. So, okay. So here we go.
Sports.
Absolutely. I think that's a good idea. DG says happy Halloween. Right back at you, DG. Thank you for being here. He skipped out on trick-or-treating to be here. So, I don't know, man.
Trick-or-treating's over at this point.
Yeah.
It's all about adult beverages and dressing up like fairies and stuff.
Yep. Wow, are we just really getting off track tonight? So, but it's fun.
Was there a football game yesterday?
I think there was some football over the weekend.
I think there were some teams playing yesterday.
I don't follow tennis. Was there any tennis? Was there any tennis?
No tennis.
Anyway.
Just football.
All right. The Steelers lost. Okay, they lost.
Yeah,
all right.
They did.
We knew they were going to lose. We knew the Eagles were probably going to take it to them. And we'll talk about the Eagles in a little bit. But so many things that just it feels like Groundhog Day all over again. So I put out online on our Facebook page and Instagram, should we give Canada one more game or should he be fired now? And once again, disclaimer, I don't know the man. He could be probably the greatest individual on earth. I always feel so guilty doing that kind of stuff, but
he's probably not. Maybe he's a terrible guy.
Yeah, could be, but give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oswald doesn't like him.
I am not my goodness. I am not making any I am not making any anyway, you get what I'm saying. But the guy, come on. I have 92% of the responses on Instagram and Facebook said fire him now. 92%. You know, who was like, I looked at the people who were like, give him one more game, and then I immediately judged them. So, what do you guys think?
Oh, I agree. I think the guy's actually past his time to be fired, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I mean, he never really showed anything. He hasn't showed anything, even when he had a Hall of Fame quarterback, that offense was innovative or exciting. And we don't have the best wide receivers, but we have talent there. I mean, we have first, second, third round picks that have the ability to catch the ball, but the scheming is just set up to just make that offense look terrible and play terrible. I mean, they do, in fairness, they do once a game go on a 10 or 12 play drive where they get a touchdown. But they can only do it once. I mean, it's the worst offense in the league with 3 and outs. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing to say to me, give this guy more time. He has a body of work, and it's just terrible. And it's not good against bad defenses. It's not terrible against good defenses. But the bottom line is it's just overall terrible. It's time to move on from Canada. What say you, Mark?
I agree. I mean, if you think about Canada, I mean, think about this. I mean, this was a guy who was making excuses last year, and his excuse last year was, I can't run my offense with a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, what kind of an excuse is that?
Right.
I would use that excuse.
He wasn't mobile enough, right?
Right. Right. And I mean, do you see much mobility being used by the quarterbacks? Maybe Trubisky
a little
and Pickett are running, but it's usually because they're being rushed. It's not because it's like a design play or anything. The bottom line is, you coach 26 games and you only score 20 points in 5 of them. That's really bad. And they were all last year, by the way, with the Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, I think we're in that. I think we're in the 92% on this one, Chris.
Yeah. And I once again, I feel like a genius because I've been calling for him to fire them since last year.
Well, what do you think?
I'm just talking my book.
Do you think they actually will fire him? I mean, they didn't come out today. It doesn't look like they're going to. I mean, I don't really even know how that would happen. Like, I guess he would just leave and be like, okay, he's not making no calls anymore. I mean, they could keep him and say he's been demoted and he's not calling the offense anymore. But Mike Sullivan is. I guess they could do that, but I just don't know how it would happen. Like, get the H out, I don't know. I just don't know how it would happen. Like, it's just never happened before with Tomlin, where he just up and fires somebody,
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
That's what I think the problem is it's not in his nature to do that. And he probably thinks it's more important for the next coach to feel like he's not going to do that to them. I think he's got more of a long-term vision in mind. And in this case, I don't think the long-term vision has much light at the end of the tunnel to it. So,
I mean, Tomlin did signal last week that, if the offense doesn't do well, like, there are going to have to be some changes that are made. To me, that's a clear signal that the offensive coordinator's job is on the line. And let's face it, I think this checks the box on that, where, you only score 13 points and you really couldn't even get any, token touchdown at the end of the game. I mean, they really just couldn't even do anything in the fourth quarter, even after the game was completely over. So they just seem like they need a change, and that seems to me like the best thing that they got going forward. They've already pulled the Kenny Pickett cord, so they're stuck with that for the rest of the season unless he gets injured. I don't know where else you get a spark unless you do something with Najee, but I don't even know if that's possible.
I'm interested to see, Steve. You said that there were 6 minutes and 30 seconds to change the game.
Yep.
Give it to us.
So this all occurred in the second quarter. We have to go the whole way back to the second quarter, where the score was actually right after. I'm going to take it right after the Eagles got that long touchdown, the first long touchdown pass to A.J. Brown that made it 14-7, right? Still a game. It's still a game at that point. In my view, I'm watching it. There's 12 minutes, 48 seconds left in the second quarter, lots of time. And what happens? They kick off, the Steelers return it to the 40, but there's a penalty. So they end up starting at their own 18. So right away, the Steelers have a good return. They're in good position. A 40-yard line start is much better than the 18. What happens when they get the ball at the 18? A penalty, of course. Illegal formation. How many times did we hear that yesterday? So they're back to the 13. Then they actually complete a pass for -4 yards. -4 yards to Sims. So now it's 2nd and 19. And what do? They run Najee. And he gets a -1 yard run. So what do they have?
I'm starting to have a panic attack, Steve.
Yeah, well, don't worry, it doesn't get better. So it's 3rd and 20, right? They do the typical let's dump it off. Jaylen Warren gets 11 yards, and it was a nice play, but there's no way they were going to get the first down, right? They punt it, and what does the defense do? 3 and out. Hey, all right. The Eagles don't go 3 and out very often. So you're like, okay, defense is in this game, even though the offense can't do anything. They punt it. The Steelers get the ball at the 20, 22-yard line. So they get a net gain of a few yards, right? What do? Incomplete pass to Deontay Johnson that actually should have been picked by Slay on the outside. The next pass, incomplete pass to Pickens, which was his the first pass thrown to Pickens, and this was with 7 minutes and 36 seconds left in the second quarter, right? The first time they tried to throw them, and actually he made a pretty good grab, but his foot kind of got stuck on the other guy's foot, and he was out of bounds. It was really an impossible catch, but he did it. So 2 bad passes by Pickens, and then the third one should have been intercepted. Freiermuth wide open across the middle, the place where Chris says throw the ball. Freiermuth was wide open, and he throws it over his head. It probably should have been picked off by Epps, but he was so surprised it hit him in his hands, he drops it. So 3 and out for the Steelers. They punt it. What happens? Pass to Goddard, 18 yards. Pass to Devontae Smith, 14 yards. Pass to A.J. Brown, touchdown. Game over. So in the 6 minutes that the Steelers had the ball, they got a total of 1 yard in their 6 plays, and the Philadelphia Eagles get, I think it was about total of 60 yards and a touchdown in about 34 seconds. And there's the game. There's the ball game, and that's the Steelers. Yeah. That's the Steelers season in a nutshell.
Steve, I have to step in here and say, I don't care what you say. You can talk till you're blue in the face. You are never going to convince me that the Steelers are as good as the Eagles. You're right. It was horrible. It was horrible.
They take 3 plays and they just go right down the field after a 3 and out. What do the Steelers do after a 3 and out? Another 3 and out. At least they didn't get a penalty the second time around.
Hey, and for me, it wasn't just that. And when you said you had that 6 minutes together, I automatically knew what 6 minutes you were talking about.
6 minutes and 13 seconds left in the first half.
I didn't have the seconds. Yeah. I didn't have the seconds, but because I don't take notes like you. So I could not believe what I was seeing. Look, if they go 3 and out again, blah, blah, blah. I get all that, but it was the way they were going 3 and out. Okay. Yep. How many times was Najee Harris going to catch a ball in the backfield with nobody? This was a funny game to watch with nobody within 3 or 4 yards of him, and he starts juking. Did you
Yeah.
see that? We were
Yeah.
Steve and I were texting during the whole game because we knew to leave you out, Schwaber. Like you're in a
Yeah,
bubble.
and I didn't want to, I don't want to pour on or anything.
You're right. Yeah. so excuse me. But it was one of the roughest.
So bad.
Yeah, it was bad. So and I'm going to move right into Najee Harris now. Okay, I'm going to move right into Najee Harris. My trademark disclaimer: I love you, Najee. You're a nice guy. You're a stand-up citizen, and your work ethic.
It's now okay
is
what
great.
you say because you've clarified that he's a
right,
nice person.
right. That's right. He's a nice person. And he works hard, and he wants to do well. Man, I'm telling you, this guy does not have it. I'm sorry. He just doesn't. He tries to jump in the air over people just because he knows he can jump high. He catches that ball and jukes 3 yards before anybody's near him. And half the time he jukes right into somebody. I mean, this is like, to me, I'm watching it going, does this guy know how to play football? I mean, it's so weird. Is it not weird to you? And I'm just speaking from like get the ball. And even the announcers were talking about it yesterday. Get the ball and dive upfield. Go forward, even if you got to go through somebody. So, I won't say any more about that other than that. I'm sorry. Could I give him one more year? I was texting Steve during the game. Could I give him one more year with another offensive coordinator in the hopes that they design plays, blah, blah, blah? Yes, I guess I would, because that would only be fair to him. But
think of it this way.
He doesn't make things happen. Great backs make things happen.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead,
I mean, well, look, certainly coming off last year, he looked like he was an emerging great back. And so the talent is there. That's obvious. What's happened this year is he got injured. He played the first several games with, some sort of object on his foot,
True.
So he's been hurt, but also, I mean, look, there's other things too. I mean, like, to be honest, I would say actually the offensive line is probably worse this year than it was last year. That's a factor. Another factor I think is the coaching. He's not really being coached up. I mean, just what you're saying, it's true, but somebody's got to be in his ear and just say like, hey, look, hit the hole as hard as you can. We don't have time to jump around right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
You have a little time to jump around when you've got, Pro Bowl offensive linemen who, are going to do their job, So, I mean, it would not surprise me at all if he has a very good year next year and he comes back strong. But, I just think he's had a lot stacked against him this year. And it might sound like a mistake, I'm making excuses, but, the bottom line is that you can't go from what he was last year to what he is this year. You just can't lose that talent. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, and my deal with Najee is I agree that this year he looks different than last year, and he seems more tentative. Like last year, I thought like he was willing to take the contact more. Like he was trying to push guys over. He would still get hit in the backfield just as much, I think. And by the way, I think him getting hit in the backfield is a big problem, and I blame Canada for I blame Canada for that. Not his juking skills. But I agree with you that he seems to be stuttering and hesitant more this year as opposed to last year. Last year, he was willing just to take on the guy and knock him over. I don't know if that's his injury or I don't know if something else is going on. But I agree. He looks different this year than last year. That being said, what do you do? I mean, I would actually like to see if he is truly injured. I'd like to see him sit for a game. Let's see what Jaylen Warren can do for one game. But the reality is much like when you put Kenny Pickett in there, he's your guy. you're not going to pull Najee Harris for Jaylen Warren. You're just not going to do it unless he gets injured. So unless he gets injured, we'll never know if Jaylen Warren is a much better back. It's my position that if Jaylen Warren was running back, he'd look great. Probably rush for, have 6 rushes for 25 yards. Everybody'd be like, wow, this guy's the real thing. And then his 7th rush, he'll run for 5 yards and fumble it. And then you'll be like, oh, God, yeah, that's right. I forgot. This guy can't hold on to the ball. Shit, we're in trouble now. And there's the rub. So I think what they need to do is they need to use them both. And they need to use them better. And frankly, Canada doesn't know how to do that. So get rid of Canada. And I agree with you, Chris. I think Najee looks better, and hopefully he'll look more like he did last year. But I also agree with you that the stuttering's got to go. He's got to get upfield. He's got to start running guys over. Jumping over invisible men is not hacking it. Stutter stepping when you have wide open field, not a good look, especially on Twitter. Google it.
Yeah. It is funny though. If you do play the play, you see that the guys are pretty quick in there. But anyway, the other thing too is, of course, another week where Canada doesn't go away from the wide receiver running play. Now, give him a little.
Wait, Mark, hold on. Don't you mean the wide receiver passing play?
Well, that was the one. That was the one
Tony
good
Romo.
one. Right? That was the one good one. But here's the thing. Part of the reason why Najee can't run is, and part of the reason why Sims has a -4 yard and all that kind of stuff is the whole league knows it's coming. So you've got all kinds of corners on the line. I mean, it's not like it's 8 in the box. I mean, sometimes it's 10 in the box, right? Because you got all those guys playing close. So, it still amazes me that they're still running that play. I mean, look, once a game, they'll get 10 yards out of it, But other than that, I mean, it's at most going to get them 4 yards, and half the time it goes negative.
Yep. Yeah. Completely agree with that. Yep. There's just no creativity in that play anymore. It's just old hat. Yep.
Well, and that leads us into, I mean, we've been beating up on the Steelers so hard, and now of course it's Kenny's turn. So, and we've kind of addressed, if you think about it, it's all kind of flowing rather nicely. We addressed Canada and the coaching, the fire. We went on to the running game and the issues. And during that, we went back to the coaching and the play calling. And then now we're going to Pickett. And obviously, he's not looking that great right now. But a lot of rookies, we're so used to having the rookie that steps in and is like, bang. Most of the time in the NFL, it takes a year or two at least. But the patience is gone. So anyway, Kenny doesn't look great. But is he being put in a position to not look great at all? I mean, I'll let you guys talk about that, and then I got a lot to say about that. So I'll try to keep mine short, though.
Well, I'm probably more in the middle. I think Steve is more on the down on Pickett, and you're more on the always seeing the roses. So my middling opinion with Kenny Pickett is the problem is that at some point you have to do something. And it seems like week after week, granted against some good teams and some good defenses, but, without much help, but week after week, it isn't happening. I don't know what the touchdowns to interceptions is. I'm guessing it's maybe like 2 to 8, something like that at this point.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. I stopped following it, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty bad. So he's not really protecting the football. The bottom line is we got to see more from him. We got to see some progression. And I really feel like in the games that he's played, he's had a few nice moments, but he really has not progressed from the first game he played to the last game he played. So I think that is a concern. Do I think he's got potential to still be good? I do, but I mean, I at this point, I would say I'm almost leaning towards it's less than 50-50. That's kind of where I am. How about you, Steve?
Well, so here's the deal with Pickett. Everybody knows I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,001, probably 1,002 next week. They put him in too early. So now that he's in, you got to stick with him, and you got to take all the bad that comes with it, because it's mostly going to be bad. When a rookie quarterback starts in this league, 8 times out of 10, it's not going to be good. It's just not going to be good, and they have to learn. So what I'm seeing in progression from Kenny Pickett passing the ball is nothing. But what I am seeing is he's starting to understand when he needs to just pick up and run, which I think is good. But what I'm afraid is he's going to start relying on his feet too much. He needs to start feeling a little bit more uncomfortable in the pocket. Wait 2 or 3 seconds and then let it fly. He just, every time he's in the pocket and he knows he's got to get rid of it and he can't see a guy, and even though the pocket's not collapsed yet, he wants to take off, and he usually ends up running into a guy or trying to run out of the pocket, and then somebody grabs him. So that's what I want to see in Kenny Pickett is I want to see him get better, being more comfortable in the pocket. And if I see that starting to happen, then I'll start saying, okay, Kenny's starting to get it. Because right now he's not getting it, and then he makes those passes there, or maybe a little high. I get it; they get deflected or whatever, and you're only giving the wide receiver a chance to get the ball. But the reality is he's got to start. He's not going to drop dimes like Jalen Hurts. Let's just put that out there right now. But at least he can put it where it's going to hit them in the hands, and only they can get it, because the defender's going to be behind him, not so that he's got to jump up and has a chance to maybe tip it so that it gets intercepted. Then maybe he can start throwing the ball over the middle more, which I think they need to start using more of the field, and that will help him get better and become a better quarterback throughout the year. I agree with you. I don't see his upside as this Hall of Fame quarterback, but I do see him as a pretty good game manager, somebody who can throw the ball deep and make the plays. Like that in the progression of that 6 minutes and 30 seconds that I said, he could have easily hit Freiermuth right across the middle, 3rd and 10, and they can keep moving the ball, right? Instead, they do an incomplete pass, and then good teams like the Eagles will take advantage of it, and then they score a touchdown, and then it's over. So that's what I want to see from Pickett. Right now, I'm not seeing it, but I think he got put in there too early. So I think he got 4 games against some really tough teams that I knew they were going to blow him up. With teams like the Saints coming up, they get to play against Cincinnati again. He didn't play in that Cincinnati game, so that's still going to be a tough game for him. But you got teams like Atlanta and teams like that where he can do a little bit more, and he'll be a little bit better. That's where I want to see him excel. That's where I want to see him be that 275-yard passer, 3 touchdowns. Maybe he still has an interception, but he's starting to get it. And that's what I'm looking for in the second half of the season with Pickett. And I think so I'm optimistic, but you know with the rookie quarterback, it's going to be more bad than good.
I think that the other thing that I'm noticing is he's really trying these difficult passes, too much. All these passes where the receivers have to make incredible catches and keep their feet in bounds, and it's either a back shoulder or it's in a place where only the receiver can catch it and not the defensive back. You can only do that so many times. And I think it might be because of the interceptions that he's been throwing. He's maybe a little bit more reluctant even to throw it in the middle of the field, just because there's more, risk there. But I think he needs to stop trying to make these perfect throws that have a lot of difficulty to them. And the Steelers receivers have made some of those catches, and we've said what amazing catches they were. But it's not something that you can count on really every week. That's just another point of view.
One last thing before Chris takes over here. They have to stop throwing the ball 40 yards down the field on 3rd and 2. That's just ridiculous. Like when you have a third and manageable situation, why would you do that? Like 2nd and 2, they never get a 2nd and 2. But if they ever do get a 2nd and 2, great time to throw it down the field, play action it, throw it down the field deep. Good opportunity. You still got a good chance of getting 3rd and 2. 3rd and 2, and you're chucking it deep. And, it's always like, oh, some wide receiver's feet gets tangled up with some cornerbacks. And you're like, oh, that should have been a penalty. But it never is, because the ball's nowhere near where it needs to be. So that's the only other thing. And that's more of a Canada gripe than it is a Pickett gripe. But Pickett's the one who's throwing it deep on 3rd and 2. He's got to stop that. All right, Chris, let us have it.
I
want you to start with your professing of love for Kenny Pickett.
At least his hair.
I love the guy. What can I say? I love.
What do you love about him?
Now, you know what? See, that's why this show works. It's because it's extremely unprofessional. No, I wanted to get a few comments in, but I'll just, you know what? No, you guys launched me right into it, because there's a lot of comments coming in, and it's mostly wrapped around Canada. Yo Carey says Claypool for QB in 2023. Here you go. Here's one for Steve. Hockey Jesus for Canada's job. I love that. I'll tell you what, Hockey Jesus would do a better job than Canada. I have no doubt. Yep. I just think it's nice that Hockey Jesus, that the good word is spreading. So toss it along. Nightly updates. We'll get into that later. Yeah. So I'm with you guys a lot. There's one thing about Kenny Pickett that I'm starting to notice, and that is that he seems to be nervous about making mistakes. One of the comments Schwaber made about maybe he's hesitant to throw it over the middle, and he doesn't want to take the risk. I also feel, however, that Canada is calling nothing but out patterns and deep balls on the outside, on 3rd and 2, and screen passes 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You're crazy if you didn't see this last night or yesterday. I guarantee you it was so obvious to me that he purposely avoided the jet sweep. And you could tell he was like a crack addict, like, oh my God, that looks like a jet sweep. Wait, it's not. And he's up there, sniffing his nose and going nuts. Like, I want to call a jet sweep so bad, so anyway, I just think that what I'm seeing out of Kenny, though, is I think I'm starting to doubt whether or not my feeling that he could be a good quarterback and he's ready, but my feeling that is he going to be able to be a risk taker? Because look, Brett Favre was one of the greats, and boy, did that guy make some terrible throws. They at once a game, you could see him just literally not even look and throw it up in the air. And 50% of the time, well, I would say 30% of the time was caught by the wrong team, 30% by the right team, and the other 30% it fell on the ground. So I don't know.
Almost got to 100 there, Chris. Almost
got to 100 what?
30%, 30%.
Okay, 33. You guys get the other 10 is
10% of the time you'd get sacked anyways. There you go.
Whatever. Yeah, you get my point. So, I would like to see. I would like to see Kenny take some more risks. If you're not going to be a risk taker, that's what all of the backup quarterbacks in the league are. You know what I mean? Except your rare occasion where you get a Cooper Rush who for 3 games, he's like, this is my big chance. And he decides to, really put some emotion into it, because it's a tryout for another team. So, I know people are going to think like, oh my God, is he now saying that Kenny Pickett is a backup quarterback? No, because I think the problem is that he's got the wrong people around him. I'm going to leave you with this. The old Washington Redskins. See, I'm starting to accept it more because at least now I'm saying the old Washington Redskins, which means I'm not refusing to drop the name at some point. I just wouldn't make a decision so early. Right. Yes, sir. There was a quarterback they drafted when Steve Spurrier. and as soon as you say that name, you laugh. Right. When Steve Spurrier was the coach, his name was Patrick Dempsey, and he was from Tulane. And when I watched him as a rookie in the preseason,
I think Patrick Dempsey was on
or Patrick Ramsey. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Not Dr. McDreamy. Patrick Ramsey.
McDreamy, yeah. McDreamy, right? Not McSteamy.
Patrick, you guys are making me cough. Patrick Ramsey. And he threw one of the prettiest long balls I had ever seen. I mean, literally, he could throw the ball, 50 yards in the air on a line. He just had a gun for an arm, and he was really accurate. He needed to learn how to read some defenses. But long story short, Spurrier put him in there. Spurrier didn't believe in having two tight ends or a tight end in to block because he was all about drawing up plays on the sideline. And next thing you know, Dempsey is on his back, 3/4 of the time. He's getting hit or sacked. And by the next year, he was happy feet because the guy never knew when he was going to get his clock cleaned.
Yeah.
And my concern with Canada is, and the offensive line is some blame to this, is that, like, look, man, Kenny's on his back. Was it too early to put him in? I don't know that I would disagree with that or agree with it, to be honest with you, because I truly think, and here we go, it's like back to bacon. I really think that Matt Canada is such a bad fit. Who knows? Maybe he signs on, works his way up, and 5 years from now they talk about how bad he was, and now he's a genius. That can happen. But I'm sorry, this is horrible to watch. It's horrible to watch. and I just went off, and I don't care if anybody hates me. I'm just telling you. It's horrible to watch. So yeah, let's get rid of him. Any follow up to that or at all, or did I just blow it right out?
Well, it's the first time that you've been down on Kenny this season.
But it's not. I'm telling you, you guys are gonna. It's not Kenny's fault. I really don't. I mean, he is not playing well. No. He is not playing well. Not playing well at all. Okay, he's really not. But I don't think there's a game plan for him. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. Like he's playing like garbage. Okay. He has one or two throws a game where you're like, oh, look, that was a good throw. That's the kind of Kenny we know we could see, or one good decision where he runs. But other than that, he's like, his head's on a swivel,
and that's I think, I think the problem is where I kind of feel for Steeler fans is that, it wouldn't be so bad if you felt there was a light at the end of the tunnel. But, the light at the end of the tunnel, if there is one, is the team's going to get better next year. And because he's going to have better people around him, he's going to play better. And I don't really know that that's true. I mean, look at the offensive line from last year to this year. Are they going to draft an offensive lineman in the first round? I don't know. Are they damn well better? Are they going to, sign a Pro Bowl offensive lineman? Probably not. Are they, going to get a linebacker in here that,
this guy over here.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's the problem. Yeah. The problem is that I just feel like there's so many weaknesses and so many holes. And they haven't been doing well lately with their drafting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You're right, Mark.
I just don't know. Yeah.
You're right. They have too many holes. They're not going to fix it this year. They're not going to fix it next year, but they can make steps like progressing Pickett with a better offensive coordinator this year and next year address the big problems, which is getting a little bit more talent on the offensive line. I will disagree with you. I know you said earlier you think the offensive line this year is worse than last year. I actually think it's a little bit better this year. Not demonstrably so, but I think it's a little bit better. But when they play against really good defensive teams that have a bunch of schemes, they're just not going to be good. They just don't have enough talent to be able to do it. So they have to decide who's a stay and who's a loser. And that's what the rest of this season should be. Are they keeping Bush? Do they think he's good? He's actually been playing okay lately. He's not been noticeably absent from that defense. And I think Miles Jack is helping him. So maybe they want to keep him just because he's a part that maybe they can get for pretty cheap so that they can go get that offensive lineman and maybe go get, a good cornerback instead of, Levi Wallace, who's been good in the secondary, just not good enough.
Okay,
so that's the thing. A lot of holes. We're not going to fix it this year. We're not going to fix it next year, but we have to make progressions towards getting better.
Yeah. And so you mentioned the D. I was just going to throw it back real quick on Tomlin and say, look, I've talked about this before. We've talked about it before. The guy inherited a Hall of Fame quarterback. And at the time he inherited that quarterback, he was already pretty good. So Tomlin's career record of never having a losing season has a lot to do with, and his ability to be able to concentrate on a defense, had a lot to do with having that Hall of Fame quarterback. And all that is to say that Tomlin has never had to make these kind of decisions as a head coach. Mm-hmm. He has never had to work. The number one position on that team was his quarterback, and that's usually the most important position on any team. And he had that totally out of the equation. Look at how many of these other teams, all of them, that don't have Hall of Fame quarterbacks, that every year have to go through this. Is this the right guy? Is this that? Is he going to last? We'll see. That what I'm saying is Tomlin needs to be given a couple years to do this. And we know the Steelers have a lot of patience when it comes to head coaches, but anything could change. And a really bad losing season, every front office will cave to the pressure of the fans and the press when it gets so obvious that somebody's going to lose their job. So I think that Canada might actually be fired, because they got to do something differently and they can't get him to do anything differently. So, okay. Minka and the D, let's keep this one kind of short because we want to get to some other stuff here. Minka doesn't look like he's playing up to par. Is he still injured? They talked about that on the radio. Maybe not. The D, obviously without Watt, they can have a decent game and then they can totally, lose it. And in this game, they totally lost it.
Yeah.
Even with the sacks they got, which were basically because Jalen Hurts is so mobile that he accidentally ran into a guy that was there, so.
Well, as far as Minka is concerned, that first touchdown pass to A.J. Brown, he was there. All he had to do was go up and get it. Everybody knows, if you've ever played defensive back, when you go to intercept the ball, you don't try and catch it like this. You go up and get it at the high point, and if he does that, he catches the ball, and A.J. Brown does it. Instead, what does A.J. Brown do? Goes and gets it. And it's the same thing on the other one on the outside. A.J. Brown is a number one wide receiver. He's a player. He beats all pros for the ball. He wants to score. The problem with our defense is nobody wants to be that guy. If Minka wants to be that guy, he should have jumped up and got it. He shouldn't have waited for it to come to him. He knew it was A.J. Brown that was coming across the middle. He had to know what A.J. Brown was going to do, and A.J. Brown probably has 3 or 4 inches on him. So he's got to make that play. He really does. And that's my only beef with him. I think he's having a really good year. I think Tim has a really good point. I think Watt will change everything when he comes back. I think that really does. That will help the defense. That will help Minka be better. It'll make everybody better, frankly. And for April's point about has Tomlin lost control? No, I don't think Tomlin's lost control. I think Chris hits the nail on the head. I think that he's never gone through this before, and right now he has to recognize. And this is what I pray before I go to bed every night before I do my Hockey Jesus segments. I pray that Tomlin will finally realize God comes down to him in a dream and says, you need to go get a real offensive coordinator. This will fix all your worries, my son. And that once Tomlin hears those words coming from the mouth of God, I think that's when everything changes around for the Steelers.
Okay. So I think Schwab knows where I'm going with this. I think we have a first here. This is the first ever sports-oriented show that has actually turned to prayer to try to help the team.
No.
Steve is saying, first when you said every night before I do my Hockey Jesus update, I swear I thought you were going to say my Hockey Jesus prayers.
No. I say my Hockey Jesus prayers for the Penguins.
I know. But it's you pray for everybody when you pray. You know what I'm saying?
Well, sometimes you have to specifically when you have a very specific need like Tomlin has and this blank spot that he has for the offense, he needs God to come down from heaven and tell him it's time to change the offensive coordinator. Yeah. And once they do that, everything's going to fall in place for the Steelers because everybody knows that God roots for the Steelers. I mean, how many jokes are there about the Steelers and God? Come on.
All I can say is hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. Listen, we spent 45 minutes of our show on this, and we have a bunch of stuff we want to get to. And what we want to do is remind you that if you're listening to us on American Busker iHeartRadio, thank you so much. iHeartRadio, 150 million registered users, 2,000 devices, 260 platforms. We are so pleased to be a part of that. Thank you. Also, catch our podcast on the iHeartRadio app or anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple. Please subscribe if you like it. And also leave us a review. That would be really great. Really appreciate that. And you can see our website down at the bottom of the page, theporchislive.com. So we got to give Mark some, and we'll talk about winning and losing soon, Tim. But we got to give Mark's Eagles some credits because we got some big news. We got some stuff coming up. We're going to be launching the Sports Porch Philadelphia edition in mid-November. It's kind of a shame we didn't foresee this. We could have launched it maybe a month ago and kind of, right into the World Series and hopefully a Phillies victory. So excited about that. And we got to see the Eagles play. And I got to tell you, man, they scare me this year. They really do. I'm not kidding. They scare me now. It's like they've won every game. So you can't even say they win the games they're supposed to. They win the games they're not supposed to. They won every game. And the teams that are clearly bad teams or worse, they beat the crap out of them. They've got it everywhere right now. So I'm not saying 16-0, but no doubt in playoffs. I think no doubt, unless every team goes through a bad streak. I think no doubt NFC East. The Giants, forget it. They lost me this past week. We'll talk about that later. So Schwab, it's looking good for the Birds.
Well, I still say pump the brakes.
See, he doesn't want to get too excited.
Because,
that's like suspicious.
All I'm saying is, really just to cater to this audience, the perfect example of why you can't get too excited is remember a couple of years ago when the Steelers were 11-0, right? And then it all fell apart. Now, I will say, the good news is that we knew that this team was a really deep team, and the whole season was going to revolve around what kind of a leap could Jalen Hurts make this year. And he's come through, and he's made a huge leap this year, and he's really playing like a top QB. At the same time, look, right now it doesn't look like there's anybody in the NFC that's in their league right now, but you never know. I mean, a team like Dallas, a team like the 49ers, maybe I mean, there's always a Rams. There's always a team that's going to, win their last 6 games and get into the playoffs hot. So who knows? I mean, to be honest, I think the more depressing part of this for me is that if they were to make the Super Bowl, which I think is a realistic possibility this year, it's a shame they would have to probably match up against the Bills, who just look completely unbeatable.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they lost the one game they lost.
Yeah.
So, and if it's not them, then it's probably going to be the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. So, it's really hard to win in the NFL, and I'm really glad that the Eagles are a very good team this year. It's fun to watch them. But, long way to go. Not even halfway there. So, we just hope everybody remains, as healthy as possible. And, we'll see. That's all I got.
Yeah, I've got
Steve,
nothing to add.
Anything?
No, I don't have anything to add. I mean, Mark hit it right. I think that the thing about the Eagles team this year is their ability to quick strike. Before they were always a kind of a running team, and I think that's what's going to help them in the playoffs. I think they're going to go back to maybe a little bit more running, which will help them actually. I think win some games, do a little bit ball control, but they can score from anywhere on the field with Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. They got 2 guys who can run down the field real quick and get an 80-yard touchdown. And that's really what you need in this league. This league is a quick strike league now. Now, ball control hardly means anything, but it will mean more in the playoffs, I think. But you still have to have that ability to be like, okay, we're down 14-3. We need a touchdown now to get them within 1, and we can't take a 12-minute drive to do it. We got to just get down the field. And they have that ability. Plus, their defense is actually better than I thought.
It's pretty good. The defense is pretty good.
I don't know who the defensive coordinator is, but he seems like he runs a lot of schemes. I like the way they selectively blitz. I like some of the ways they do the guys rushing this way and then all of a sudden he's coming around from the other side. I mean, Pickett just got murdered on one play like that. The guy just came untouched. And that's going to be really good. That shows that they're innovative and they're willing to change up their schemes. So when it comes to the time of the playoffs, they're going to make the playoffs. When they make the playoffs, they're going to have different schemes that are going to be hard to scheme against. So I think that's what I really like about this Eagles team. And all the other thing I like about this Eagles team is we don't have to play them again. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think the one thing the Eagles did this past year, of course it's hindsight, getting AJ Brown. I mean, he's getting more national exposure because the Eagles are a bigger draw than the Titans. But I got to tell you, I did not realize how good this guy really is. I mean,
he really is that good. Think about it.
He was that good. He was that good.
But that's my point. That's my point.
But the reason why.
Go ahead, Schwaber. Go ahead.
I was going to say the reason why you didn't realize it is because they hand the ball to Derrick Henry 30 times a game down there.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that Jalen Hurts and him were good buddies going way back. So that's really better. Yeah, that means everything. Yeah. I mean, when you're playing with your best friend and he's got the talent that he has, and they both have the talent that they have, that's a really good piece of chemistry right there.
There's another team that did that recently. I think they're called the Bengals. So, I mean, it's just a sign of a front office and a coaching staff that is working together to put the right players on the field. And look, you guys better than anybody.
The Steelers. Stop.
It hurts me to say it.
The Steelers have the Watt brothers. They have the Hayward brothers. Right. Come on, the Steelers are doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, actually, maybe the Eagles are copying the Steelers. They've just perhaps perfected the formula. You know,
We just prefer friends, not brothers.
right? Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean,
maybe we need the friends equation, not the brothers equation. Maybe
it really does. I mean, being a Commanders fan, I grew up and still to this day, there's a part of me that just despises the Eagles, which is going to make for a great Philly sports show too, because, you know, that's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, I will be the butt of all the jokes, but, you know, I do what Steve does. Whenever those jokes come up, I say, hey, man, Joe Gibbs, you know, 3 out of 4, first black quarterback. And we go down that road. But
hey, we got to pick games. Let's get to it.
Time to pick
we
some
do.
Games.
Top to bottom, the Eagles organization looks pretty darn good right now. I'll tell you that much. Well, real quick, congratulations to the Phillies. We'll get to that, you know, once they win the World Series.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
I think that one's going at least 6.
We'll be talking about that next week and in years to come, I'm sure. So Penguins updates. We can leave that off the table for now because we want to pick some games. But just to remind you, after every Penguins game, Steve is on the podcast, the Sports Porch on iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Right after the game, he does his little update. If it's on the West Coast, the timing is usually first thing the next morning. So anyway,
no West Coast for a while. So
still the most Dr. Download. He's Dr. Download, still the most downloaded show. You people are loving those Pens updates. So if you got friends that are Penguins fans, let them know. It's a little bit different take. So now we have to pick our games. And first thing we're going to do, we're not skipping this. I don't care if we run late or not. We have to talk about last week's picks.
Yeah, I did okay last week.
I'm just going to get it out of the way. I was 3-0, you know. Ravens at Bucks. Steve and Mark took the Bucks. Chris took the Ravens. I felt vindicated.
I felt good about that loss, by the way.
What a dumb pick that was by us, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, seriously. I always pick Brady, so that way if they lose, then I'm happy.
He's about they come out right after the game. He drops the message on social media that they're divorced. So then you go back and you think about the screenshots they did, the close-ups. You could see it in his eyes during that game. Could you not? I could see it in his eyes. I know you don't care.
I called that divorce as soon as it happened. As soon as a guy unretired, I called that divorce. You can go back and look at the tape.
I 100% verify that. I'm proud of you. I think that was a good move. Just please don't make any predictions about my marriage. Just stay away from that.
That's a promise. Right. That's a promise I can keep.
All right. It would have helped in my first marriage, but
no, sorry, I'm done. I'm done with predictions with marriages. It's over.
You were not listening to us then.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so all right. So Packers at the Bills. We all took the Bills. So far, and then Giants at the Seahawks. Wow, what a game! We all took the Seahawks. So Steve was 2-1, Mark was 2-1, I was 3-0, and Mark and I are now tied at 15-9. Steve picked up a little ground. Well, didn't pick up any ground, but made his record look better. 10-14.
I got a double-digit wins.
A lot of football to play. So
are you sure you added this right? I feel like I was ahead by more than one game last time.
You were not ahead by more than one game.
Okay, we'll take a look at the pad next time we're together.
All right. There's so much at stake. There's so much at stake. Okay, so this week, I got it.
Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night game is
Eagles
Texans. Yeah.
Do the Texans shock the world? I say no.
Chris?
Oh, I was actually the one that was supposed to go first, and I was going to take the Eagles anyway. So,
and I'm taking the Eagles too.
This
come on. I mean, the Texans. There's no way. Although they are playing in Houston. No, I'm taking the Birds. Taking the Birds.
All right. And the Sunday night game, Titans at Chiefs, right?
Titans at Chiefs.
That's an interesting one. I don't know if Malik Willis is still going to be the QB. I don't know if you noticed, I don't think he threw the ball more than 10 times.
Yeah, he only threw it 11 times. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like he handed off to Henry like 32 times or
34 times for 209 yards. Yeah.
That's the old Bill Belichick move in the freezing cold, you know?
Well,
oh wait,
you're supposed
to go first. Yeah, because that gives you guys a little advantage. So Titans and Chiefs, I'm going Chiefs.
Go ahead, Mark.
Who'd you pick? It froze up on
Chiefs.
The Chiefs too. I if there's a backup quarterback, there's no way.
And it's a 3 for Chiefs.
All right. Well, so what's the
pick'em game?
Oh God, it's Minnesota at the former Redskins. Minnesota at the Commanders. And I got to go first, of course.
Heineken.
We picked the right week. It's tough because it's at FedEx Field, the worst field in the NFL. It is. It's been labeled that. I mean, Snyder's a genius. Minnesota at the Redskins. Oh, man. I know you guys are going to go Minnesota. See, that's the thing. I know you're going to go Minnesota because of the way things are working out here. I gotta root for my team. I'm going with the Commanders. I got to do it. I love Taylor Heineke. He's got grit.
I also am going to go with the Commanders.
No way. Like yeah.
No, I swear to God, I was going to do that.
Okay, because there's no way I can pick up any ground on you now.
The Vikings are paper champions. Paper champions.
All right.
I am taking the paper champions. Yes, this is the week I get a game up on you guys. Yes, I may go 1 and 2, but I'm getting the 1.
Yep. There's going to be some backdoor negotiating going on soon, I'm sure. All right. So, well, guys, we filled up a whole hour with this stuff, but as last thing I got to say here is, of course, thank you for listening to us. If you are on American Busker iHeartRadio, really appreciate that. Please follow our podcast. We drop it. I usually drop it within an hour or so after the show. Follow our podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, and visit theporcheslive.com. Please leave us a review. The best thing you can do for us is tell a friend about it and get somebody else to watch who's a Pittsburgh fan on this one, and coming up soon, Philly. So thanks a lot for that, guys. Any parting words here?
Just the Penguins, they're playing twice. They're playing another back-to-back. So,
they'll be on. I forgot all about that. Yeah,
they'll be on Tuesday. They'll be on Wednesday. Wednesday in Buffalo. Tuesday at home against Boston. If you don't want to take the 3 hours to watch the game, just download the 3.5-minute podcast, and you'll know everything you need to know about the Pens.
Yep, and that's the Sports Porch podcast. After every Pens game, get your update with Hockey Jesus. Schwaber, any parting words here while I try to get our music started?
Winter is coming.
You guys are great. All right, thanks so much for watching and listening. We really appreciate it.